and welcome to another episode of the Programmatic Digest Podcast. I have the outstanding Shannon Rudd and the incomparable Allie Lichtenberg on the podcast today. I'm super excited to have you both. Welcome. How are y'all doing?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having us today, Helene. We're happy to be here and we appreciate you having us.
Love being here.
And Allie, did I pronounce the last name correctly? Lichtenberg?
Good. And
Okay, cool.
way to go.
Thank you. I have been practicing in front of the mirror. I wanted to make sure that I honor you and your identity, and I start with pronouncing your name correctly. So there it is.
Well,
But we have a special episode because we first of all, I think I met either of you at some point in my path on my career, but most recently we got to see each other in person at Mockitecture Live in New York, which was one of the very first, I guess, off of many, presented by ATG and Ari Paparo and Jeremy Bloom, this whole team of Marketecture. And I would give a special shout out to Amelia Tran and her team for putting the actual event together. Listen, Amelia was dope. Like,
we
okay,
love
we're gonna talk about this.
I have a fun fact with Amelia. She's wonderful. We've known each
No,
other.
she's outstanding.
Incredible.
So this podcast, if you're listening or tuning in on YouTube, is to give you our takeaways, which all three of us attended, and as a forum. I didn't get to attend Adtech forum because I can only do 3 days in New York, and I was in New York starting Sunday, so I had to go. That's my max. It's like allergy against the city, right? But both Shannon and Allie were able to attend, and they also have takeaways and notes to share with us. So before we get into today's conversation, at least, Allie, how about you lead with, give me your 2-minute introduction, what you do, who you is, how you accidentally landed into this. I don't know why I said accidentally, but most of us do.
Accidental. It was.
Okay, that's why. Most of us do, though, for real, for real. So maybe tell us who you are, what you do today, and then maybe how you started in the industry. And then Shannon, we'll get to you.
All right. So yes, I am Allie Lichtenberg. I am founder and CEO of Lucem, and I am a programmatic media buyer is my main skill set. But what that means is I've been in the ad tech industry for 10 years now. It was very accidental. I studied biology and chemistry in college, thought I was going to go to med school, took a sharp right, and accidentally ended up slinging ads across the internet. So I've been doing it for 10 years. I enjoy it. I've done it on all different sides of the industry. So small trading desks, agency holdco trading desks. I've been on the publisher side. I've been on the DSP side. And now I've broken free, running my own business, taking on my own clients, and just doing fun, interesting projects that come my way.
That is so fascinating. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to get in touch with Allie and with her business in a hot second here. But Shannon, give me your 2-minute intro, what you do today and how you landed in this industry, at least.
Yes. So my name's Shannon Rudd. I been in New York City not quite 20 years now. So I go back to the early days of both publishing and ad tech.
Nice.
I actually came to New York City for grad school at NYU, and was fortunate that, well, actually, my entry into ad tech was a little bit, it was kind of by chance too. I was in grad school. I was paying my own way tuition, working full time and taking grad school courses at night, and quite honestly, had bills to pay.
That's a great motivation.
Not an easy place to survive. Even it's getting harder by the day, quite frankly. But and landed on Madison Avenue at the time with what was one of the rising ad tech companies. And then post grad school, got in, really learned the ad op sides. I mean, was an ad trafficker, then got in at some of the bigger publishers, and rose through the ad ops yield side of the business within large publishers, primarily Bonnier and Rodell, where I actually did have a lot of female support, and rose all the way up to GM of Digital for Bonnier US fairly quickly post grad school. And then it was, during the economic recession of 2000s, what was it, like 8
Eight.
to 10
Yeah.
realm, where publishers are really struggling. I mean, they still are. And moved over and was the first female hire for 3 different ad tech companies on the
Mhm.
ground floor, usually myself and, some young, men in, quite frankly, the WeWorks in Times Square, so I've lived through all both sides of the industry. Um, but really grew my career through the technical knowledge based side of understanding ad tech stacks, revenue operations. Also done a lot of
Yeah.
services through the years. um, Currently I'm consulting under my own, I'm founder of SRED Consulting, helping mid-sized publishers really
Mhm.
understand all these technical changes that are going on in the industry now. They're coming
Wow.
rapid fire at us. With the age of AI, things are changing very quickly. I feel like we're on the
Mhm.
third revolution of this industry. And
I
trying
love it.
to assist, where needed with all these rapid changes happening.
This is so cool. So there's a reason why I've asked both Ali and Shannon. First of all, they're fantastic ladies. Their energy are, and you'll get to hear it and see it on this podcast, but in person is like 10x. They are absolutely outstanding, and I mean it. And I love that Ali has a buy side background and you have a sell side background, Shannon, because mine is on 96%, 96%, 97% buy side now. And so I love the perspective of that you're going to bring. And that leads me to the first question about live, and then we'll get into Adtech Forum, like I said. But what were, and Shannon, you can lead on this one. What was one of the session you probably attended that was like, yo, I'm going to remember what this speaker said because this is what I think, and here's my point of view. Like maybe one of your favorite session. And please, y'all, before Shannon even remembers, every single shout out to every single speakers.
Yeah.
I have my opinion about the lineup, but I will share that later. But what I'm asking of Shannon and Ali is maybe to share something that stood out, which does not mean that the rest of it didn't, or the rest of it was not great. It's just when you are reading great content or attending those type of conferences, everything moves so fast. And but there's always that one thing that's going to stand out. Okay. So if you're a speaker of another session, shout out to you. I know it's hard to be in a session and presenting to anyone, whether you're doing it for years or not. But shout out to you. My intention is to just let our people that did not attend know, like, okay, this is what I remember of this. Okay. So now, Shannon, give me one maybe takeaway from the best session that you attended, or one of the session that was the most insightful to you. And
Sure.
then Ali will come to you.
Like you said, these conferences, I mean, why I attend them is because there is so much great information. And
Yeah.
as I mentioned before, the industry's, changing very quickly. There was actually 2. My favorite was actually, I really enjoyed the breakout sessions, the smaller
Me
sessions
too.
away from
Yeah.
the main stage, because I felt
Yeah.
like the presenters within those got into the nitty gritty details. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a tech nerd. I like to understand, the detail versus the
Mhm.
broader approaches that were presented on the main stage. Again, that's just my personal interest. Melinda Hands from Distillery, I thought she was
Me
phenomenal.
too.
My brain got going. This woman, I don't know her. I was had
Mhm.
fortunate to meet her at the event
Mhm.
afterwards, but true data scientist, and
Yes.
to see a woman, up there getting really nitty pretty technical, scientific data. Um, it was all about increasing the non-addressable space in the inventory with the decline of cookies, going into intent-based targeting at scale, and um, it's really about monetizing the idealist audience at scale, which is,
Mhm.
gets into the yield side and increasing monetization. And I see that as a win-win solution, both for the publisher side and for the ad tech players.
Got it.
It's smart, it's innovative, and it's one of the best uses of AI. I've been attending quite a few conferences and events
Mhm.
over the past 2 years or so. I've heard a lot of AI, what I call AI hype. This is the
Mhm.
first use of AI where I was like, that makes sense. That could
Yeah.
be, a game changer for the
Oh
industry.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I love how people will reach out to me and be like, "Do you think AI will replace my job?" And I'm like, "I don't know, will it?" And I'm always like, "I don't think it will. What it will replace, and I'm praying that it will, is the mundane,
Mhm.
monotone, day-to-day tasks that we are forced to do instead of using our human brain and power to do something much larger, much more strategic."
Yeah.
So when it comes to specialty niching into your, I don't know, analysis, let's say your optimization, I want AI to tell me like, yo, take a look at this batch of data, this inventory based on this source. We think you should either remove this, we think you should spend more money in it, but at least look at it, like instead of me starting from like the query and the line item. So I appreciated Melissa, and I will add as many as whoever we mentioned, their LinkedIn in the show notes and the YouTube
Yeah.
description, just in case.
Yeah, I wasn't in that session, so it's
Oh,
great
you were
to hear.
not.
I
Okay.
went to a
Okay.
few other ones,
So
so I'm
what was
curious
yours?
about that. What was mine? So I have to say, I loved all of the breakout sessions I went to,
Yeah.
and like Shannon, the breakout, I think like you, the breakouts were some of my favorite
Hmm.
sessions.
Hmm.
And selfishly, I'm going to be presenting in a breakout session format at Programmatic IO in May. So I was definitely there to get tips and tricks for my own presentation.
Yeah.
And I have to say the 3 breakouts that I went to, they all, like, hit it out of the park. And my theme when I was picking these breakouts was, identity and, like, how is identity done in a post-cookie world?
Yeah.
What are the different techniques? What are the different vendors out there?
Mhm.
And why is it important? And before I get into the specifics of the session, it was
Mhm.
really eye-opening to me because I'm going to be presenting about how to use measurement as a trader in my
Mhm.
session in May. And what was really eye-opening to me is I guess I feel like I haven't spent enough time thinking about how is that identity determined before the
Right.
results get into the DSP. So
Yeah.
I log into the DSP and I take for granted that there's 100 conversions in there. And I really, in my day to day, because there's so much manual work to be doing in the
Yeah,
DSP, I
that's
don't
real.
think about like, was that UID 2.5? Was it Google Sandbox? Like, how did that identity get determined? How did they match back that conversion? What is their methodology? Um,
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time in my career thinking about, okay, I have these conversions in the platform. I understand not all of those are causal. That's when you have to bring in incrementality and MMM. And
Hmm.
like from that point onward, but I realized through this conference, I've not spent enough time thinking about what happens at step -10. So I will be thinking more about that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. 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 That's
I
real.
think all of these sessions, all of the breakout sessions I went to really helped um, point that out for me. I think shout out to the U of Digital team. I think
Yeah.
they had a really engaging session. Uh,
Yes.
so it gave me ideas for not just content, but like how to make
How
my
to run. Yeah.
engaging.
Hmm.
I don't know that I ever really heard the term pets, or maybe I didn't pay that much attention to it. So now I have a new acronym. So that was really helpful.
Good to know.
But I really liked how these are really complicated, abstract topics
Yeah.
that, like I said, we don't think about in our day to day. And I
Hmm.
think the U of Digital team did a great job of creating some real life examples in the room, like easy to
Yeah.
grasp examples. And I didn't feel dumb listening to their session. I felt
Yeah.
like I was able to take it in and learn and make myself better.
So that was
I.
actually my second favorite one.
Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
was going to mention as well, pets was a new term for me. I love going away from a conference and learning something. I mean, our industry loves acronyms, but that was one where again, was like, they broke it
Where have I
down
been?
from a learning style. They made it fun. They made it interactive.
Yeah,
It
It's true.
wasn't, and I walked away with new knowledge. I mean, that's, a goal of anyone, who wants to continue to thrive in this industry.
Yeah, I do. I did like them. I always attend shifts and miles, any type of session, because the dynamic, first of all, the dynamic is always super funny. Like
Yeah.
I absolutely love them. They're hella funny. And then privacy is something just like for you, Allie, you mentioned about the whole identity, trying to learn more. That's definitely something I'm trying to be mindful and intentional in learning. But privacy is like another black box to me. It's like when I
Mhm.
hear privacy, I see like a dark cloud, but
Yes.
it's not supposed to be a dark cloud. Like I am for privacy. I want more companies and tech to be careful with my information. And so that's something I was super excited to see. But I know you guys talked about the breakout room. That's one of the only one I was able to attend, but I genuinely appreciated like Ari's opening. I always
Mhm.
find the guy being hella funny. And I'm
Mhm.
like, it's kind of refreshing because most of the opening is always very like, this is the business, this must be this. But like he came in like, y'all came over here on what was it? What was the holiday? On
It's St. Patty's Day.
St. Patty's Day on a Monday morning in New York.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, you damn right we did. Okay. Like you better recognize this
it was
shit.
like a rainy, gloomy day for New York too,
It
as I
was a
recall.
hella gloomy
Yeah.
day. And I was like, this is why I can only do 3 days in the city. Obviously, like during the summer and spring, it's beautiful to be in the city. This was not it though.
Yeah, you
This
have
was
to
not
keep coming back to visit us.
Yeah, you gotta come
I'll
back.
be
I
back.
just saw cherry
I'll be
blossoms
back. I'll be
yesterday.
back for sure, for sure. I also want to give a quick shout out to Melinda. Her session was dopey dope. So here's my next question to you guys. What is maybe something, and it don't have to be a particular session, but what is something that happened during the conference, whether it was during the networking, whether it was during the actual session? What is something that you were like, wait a minute, like I gotta look this up, or something different than what we
Hmm.
just shared?
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if it was so much like I have to look this up, but I
Yeah.
think it was, telling that on the main stage, there was, I mean, I'll be honest, I got there a little late. So maybe I missed, one or two of the
25% of
early
us did.
sessions. Again, it was a really busy week that week for me, but a lot of conferences going on and people in town.
That's true.
But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was a single female presenter on the main stage. And I've been attending these conferences, for over 10, 15 years now. Um, and, it's a real challenge in the industry. And I don't want to, call out this conference specifically. It's every conference, as an industry. We did see Allie Challenge up there, or sorry, Allie from Challenge AI,
Yeah, jealous.
strong female CEO.
Lauren Wetzel was there, right? InfoSum? No?
Was she on the main stage?
I'm
She
not
was
sure
on
if
main
she's on the
stage
main. She
actually.
was okay. So maybe again, like I haven't. I think back to my ad edit ratio days. I actually started in print media, believe it or not. And
Way back then.
having an equal balance of editorial content to sponsored content. But in my mind, it's like, is there an equal balance, not only of women, but of, diverse people of color, BIPOC audiences, not just even on the stage, but in the audience. The industry still has a real challenge when it comes to
Yeah.
like, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Yeah.
Um, I will say the overall feel of the conference. Shout out to our advanced women crew.
Yes.
Uh, I walked into that conference, and again, I've been attending these types of conferences for quite a while, and I
Yeah.
think I like immediately had like 5 hugs in a row. I mean, how welcoming! It was one of the most
One was me.
welcoming.
One was like, I
I
know
know
your
it
face.
was probably
I've
you,
seen your
Allie,
face.
and then
Yep.
I met some other fantastic women. I met like Tara in the bathroom. She had on great St. Patty's
Oh,
Day dress.
yeah.
I mean, we were having fun,
Yeah.
and to be able to have that camaraderie, that to me is real positive change in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change takes time. I've been involved in a lot of advocacy in other areas. I'm a big cyclist in New York City and done a lot of change in that environment. It
Mhm.
doesn't come quickly,
Yeah.
but to have that atmosphere of, turning around and recognizing someone, being able to have, a great connection, them being able to introduce them, to their, network in person. I mean, that's the golden stuff that will really help us all rise together. And it, I think has been lacking, quite honestly, in the industry for a while.
Yeah, I would agree that we've been talking about this topic for quite some times, and I feel like we're still talking about it, but we should absolutely never stop talking about it. So if you hear this message, it is going to be tiring. It's not for the faint. It's not for the weak. It is something that is important. And I did walk out of the main stage a couple of times because I did not feel connected. The content was outstanding.
The content was amazing. It was amazing. It was one of the best, like, collection of content.
Yes, it was very well put together. And it was like, sorry to cut you off, Allie, but it was exactly what in the past 2 months, what I wanted to learn more about. And I found it all in one. And just so y'all know too, now we have the good things about attending to those conferences. Like the person that was on stage, the company that they represent, we know who to reach out to. That's another positive thing.
Yeah, we got to put some faces to the companies. I mean, just the focus on identity and privacy, in addition to, you know, more of the kind of day-to-day ad tech stuff that, like, the three of us think about. Like, I really, really enjoyed that perspective. And you don't always get such a concentrated mix of that content, because it's hard. That's a hard concept to make interesting and entertaining and fun. And I do think they did a really great job on that.
I would also add that, but like I recognize both of how you guys are feeling, and I validate both. It's super important. And again, it can be very exhausting. Like, you know, it can be exhausting that once again you're not being represented the way you are. But there are, just like Shannon said, there are places where you can find that type of support. And I want to give a special shout out again to Advanced Women, which is a trio leadership, female leadership that came into my life. One was Preeti Powell, the other co-founder was Sophia Westrich and Hollis Guerra. The fact that they brought together so much women at Marketecture, like if ATG, like, and ATG is how it all created, right? It created, it started in this Slack channel, and he was like, you know what, you guys want a safe space? Let me give it to you. And I, anyway, I'm not going to make speculation of what he looks like, because I don't know who he looks like. But although I think he was there, I could sense his presence.
There was an aurora in the room.
It was a great one, but I could smell that shit.
Oh my God.
But it started with him. So I attended also a few conferences in the last 12 months, and I've walked out of some of the session because I'm like, here we go again, even though it does not mean, and I'm not taking jabs at the speaker, at the white man. I'm not. I welcome you in this space as well. However,
but we want to be welcome too.
But
absolutely.
It has to be synergetic. And I think it takes the good men standing up. And we've seen that in the history. You know, shout out to Mike at
Captain.
Allie, help me here. Adlib DSP. I was going to say DSP, but there's 100 of them, probably more now. You know, he was one of the sponsors for the Advanced Women, our happy hour that week. You know, we have seen Adtech God again. He created space. You know, so these men that do have, you know, voices and power to open up, you know, more share of voice is how I think of it in the industry for women. I think we can't, you know, we can support each other as women, but we need the whole industry, you know, that's how we'll get there quicker. So, you know, I don't want to, you know, think this is an attack on men or anything. I have a lot of great men.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
But
I agree with you.
You know, there have, you know, and there's probably others that I don't know about, you know, those are just two that come to mind, you know, top of mind.
Yeah, no, those two gentlemen are definitely fantastic. And I think it's a good segue too into Adtech Forum. Unless you guys have one important thing, like a couple more takeaways to share from Marketecture.
Okay, I did just have one takeaway. It's been like racking my mind. Like okay. So I attended the session Incremental Measurement Without Cookies. I was on the main stage. It was with Chris Luna from Progressive, and it was chat between him and Jeremy. But I feel like I walked away from that session with absolutely no understanding of how he was doing incremental measurement without cookies.
Yeah, no.
I think a lot of us turned around after that one. I mean, again, I don't, you know, I don't want to.
Conversation was great.
But like,
the conversation was great. It's just not
Yeah.
what was marketed in the
Yeah.
title. And like,
Mm.
as someone who was there selfishly to get tips and tricks for my presentation, I was like pen in hand, ready to go. And I was like, I've got flow, I've got hot ones, but I'm not really like, that's great, but I'm not really getting incremental measurement without cooking. That's what
It
I'm
is.
for.
It's so interesting that you said that, Allie, because I walked in afterwards because I had a meeting. And so I'm recording. I took small recording of a bunch of the as many as I could attend. And when I recorded, I think the Jeremy's question was something about how do you communicate across, and like Chris Luna's answer was something about like whatever we found on the brand side, we make sure to share with the tech partners. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. But like I sat down, and then I think some of the question was all about, honestly, I think there was a few questions about D&I, if I
I
remember correctly.
maybe it's just I started getting lost in the sauce because these were not the topics I was expecting to hear about. Which again, it was a great conversation.
Yeah.
My brain was ready for something else than what it was.
Yeah. That's a good
Yeah.
feedback. That's a very good that's a good feedback.
It's
One last
still driving me
takeaway from
crazy.
you.
It's still driving me crazy to this day. It is my Roman Empire. How did that session get that name?
Yeah, right. But it happens. Like I said, I've had not as often, but I've did sign up to like a session, and I was like, But like I said, this was our first one, and we're gonna give them grace.
Yeah.
I did share all the feedback. I did share about more diversity in the speaker line on the main stage. I also shared a few things about the type of attendees. I thought there was a lot of tech partners, and I
Mhm.
only met two agency friends
Mm.
that were
Interesting.
attending. I didn't think I saw a lot of buyers, honestly. I don't know if you have that same feedback, Ali, but same
Like
thing with the
traders?
like
Like traders?
traders,
So
buyers, account on like the advertiser side. I did not see a
so
lot.
here's my thinking about then conferences in general. And
Mhm.
honestly, this is one of the reasons why I stopped working for companies full time, is because I felt like as a buyer trader,
Mhm.
like I was never gonna get encouraged or permission to leave my desk for a day or 2 days and go to a conference. I
Mhm.
really
Yeah, yeah.
never
Your
went to
hands washed.
conferences. I really never went to conferences until I stopped working full time a year and a half ago, like starting my own business, became my
Yeah.
own boss, and sent myself to these conferences. But like my bosses, as great as all of them were,
Mhm.
like no one ever said to me, like, hey, you should leave your desk, go to this
Yeah.
conference, it'll make you better, it'll make us better. And whether intentional or not, I sometimes ended up with this feeling in certain circumstances of like, well, the boys are going to go to the conference and the girls are going to stay home and mind the shop. And so the opportunity it didn't feel like it was there. Um, so I think that's like a big reason why a lot of traders in particular, but then also a lot of women, people of color, people who don't want to rock the boat and are trying to like get by in their day-to-day of their job, don't raise their hand and say like, hey, can I go do this? Um, so I do think like as an industry and at companies, we have a problem of like, who are these companies choosing to send to conferences? Not just who the conference is inviting, but who is the company choosing to send. And then, right, it goes back to like, okay, if you're not attending the conferences,
Yeah.
if you don't understand how these conferences work as an attendee, like, how are you going to be ready to speak at a conference
Sure.
when it's your time? How are you going to have that network to call on you to speak at a conference? And so, again, I did not get an invite to speak at a conference until I started attending conferences just this past fall. So it's hard. It's hard. Like if you're bogged down in your day-to-day job, and for a lot of women in our industry women and others who are not the, pinnacle of what
Yeah, I
traditionally
have
has
something to
been
say
in
about that.
charge,
Mhm.
um, we're dealing
Yeah,
with a lot of stuff in our day-to-day of like just trying to get by in our job. So how are
sure.
we supposed to also have that headspace, that physical and emotional security to say, I'm going to take some time and go speak at this conference. So it's a it's
Yeah.
it's a big problem from a lot of angles of this industry.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate what you shared because you're right. Did not start attending conferences. Actually, I always tried to attend conference, even working for ad agency, but I had to self-fund. Self-fund.
Right.
I would charge
Really?
on the
Wow.
credit card and I'll be like $100 every month until I paid until next year.
Yep.
And because I did that, I understood that, oh shucks, this is a boys' club. This is a lot of sales
Mhm.
and it is exhausting.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
not worth the, and I truly, and I'm not taking a jab at the conference industry, and I know you're not as well. But let's take these as constructive feedback and that was one of my feedback for the Marketecture team because I felt safe enough to share this feedback with
Mhm.
ATG and his team because that's the team that's how they made me feel. And so I was very open into and I told Amelia, I was like, I was very honest about some of this stuff. Um, but I want to see more buyers. I want to see the traders. I want to see the ad ops. Like Shannon hasn't shared
Mhm.
her insight here, but I know for a fact not a lot of ad ops people are attending as well. It's their bosses, bosses, and most of them are in business development, account executives, and then the CMOs, which all of those roles are major and very essential for the success of what we do. However, there is the other equation, the people that I like to say in the trenches. I call them programmatic ninjas or ad tech ninjas, ad ops, whoever you are that actually does the work in that tech that is coming to sell us at conferences. And so I want to give a shout out to Ad Monsters because when I attended their conferences last November, and I was invited to speak to the Ad Monster one in Scottsdale 2024. Shout out to whoever I
Oh,
got to meet. But like, listen, if you have not attending an Ad Monster, you have to. Okay. Especially if it's led by Lynn's team, Lindy Johnson's team,
Oh, yeah.
Andrea. That team was fantastic because they had breakout session where ad ops folks
Mhm.
we're talking leading the session, like they were literally telling us like this is the tag, how to troubleshoot this tag and whatnot, and I was like, what? I can
Yeah.
actually understand you.
I love it.
yeah,
I love
Awesome.
some
exactly.
like good in-depth knowledge, like tactical.
Yes.
Yes, the
and
On the
tactical stuff.
topic.
some people are going to say, yeah, but they don't bring in revenue. Like business development is how we fund and pay those salaries. Okay, boo. Let me tell you something. If you're that person talking, thank you. Let me bring you into this conversation. I'm not calling you out, I'm calling you in. Okay. Hear me loud and clear. You can bring as much business as possible for any type of companies. If you don't have the actual worker to keep that business
Right.
in, to continue
Yeah.
performing, nurture that business, you ain't going to be paying your own salary. Okay.
Yep. You're not going to keep that business.
No,
Exactly.
you're not going to have a happy client. You're not going to have, your KPIs met. You're not going to have a successful
Exactly.
campaign, and you're definitely not going to get a renewal.
And
And I
that's,
think
yeah,
more props needs to go to those ad ops teams as someone who's spent most of my career building and growing ops teams,
same,
where you
same.
always the end of the line. It's
Mhm.
easy to blame the end of the line on everything upstream, and we make miracles happen
Yeah.
hourly. Okay.
Mhm.
Without a lot of gratitude, or
Yeah.
the better sales reps actually do say thank you, and those are the ones where we're going to make sure those campaigns
Yeah.
perform, and then the renewals start flowing in. So
Yeah.
I think you have a real valid point there. I've been a big fan of Admansters over the years as well. Never been able to attend their conferences, but it's a
Oh my gosh, they are
it's the one
fantastic. It
industry,
it's
presence that actually
so good.
focuses on ops folks,
Yeah.
who are, as a whole, extremely undervalued. And I think my concern is, props to you. You actually have hands-on keyboard training. There's very
Mhm.
little of that. I learned it all on the job. I've taught mainly
Oh,
teams,
for sure.
even external agency teams, client teams, because
Yeah.
nobody is teaching this stuff.
Mhm.
And with everything being
Let me
AI, how are people going to be understand the backbones of ad tech stacks and how this all really works from a technical perspective if you haven't lived it, if you haven't loaded a ad campaign, if you haven't, used different ad servers, different trading platforms, implemented a pixel on a, conversion tracking, like this is the stuff that like is going to keep the industry alive, no matter if it's AI-fied or not. You're going to
Yeah.
still need people who understand the backbone. Because if your foundation's not strong, your ad tech tech's not strong, nobody's making money in this entire industry. Nobody.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
But
respect
anyway,
that and I
I got
love
to
that.
stand up for my ops peeps as well. So
No, and please, like, I appreciate what you both are saying. Like, I think there is an opportunity for those teams to really grow, and I'm here for it. And honestly, that's one of the reason I do what I do. Is like that's why I started my education consultancy. I started as a freelancer back in 2019. I wanted to do it in 2018, but I didn't have the balls to do it. And then 2019, I said, fuck it up, whatever, I'm going to leave. But fast forward, what I do today is train those teams because I have the hands-on keyboard. And so like agencies and most of the buy side company hire us to be their L&D support with the programmatic hands-on keyboard touch. But I have a significant amount of ad tech companies and media owners on the publisher side that are now reaching out to us to be like, yo, can you do this? But give us your buyer's perspective, your trader's perspective. And I'm like, yes, because there's two, like, it's like we're about to talk about ad tech forum, economic, whatever the name of it, but like there's a sell side and there's a buy side. You need both in order for this to work. And so buy side has been given a lot more, light, and then we forgot this part of the equation. And so one of my mission is to teach people that look and sound like you and I, but
wanted
also
to
to
say thank you for
bridge
joining the
between sell
workshop
side and buy
yesterday.
side
It
because we
was
need it.
so beautiful.
Right. And that's why when Ad Monster reached
one
out
of
and
the
I had
reason
already
why we are doing
reached out to my
launching this
monster about
membership
getting
is
more
because it's
involved
been on
because I
my
knew they
heart
represented
after
that
having my son in
market that I want to
2023.
learn from, like the
It was
market that
rough
you serviced all these
for
years,
many
Shannon,
reasons,
and
and
still
the
are.
light was and
But
the warmth came
but we don't do
from my
that enough,
husband being the
And
biggest
Rob Beeler and Beeler
supporters, my
Tech's team
daughter,
are
and then
also
my
doing
son.
similar.
And
They
then
have like
this
a
year I
one-day
realized like I'm
conferences
going to be
where,
bold.
and I have to give them
I'm
the
going
shout
to
out
be
as well.
I want to
myself.
shout him out
I'm
too.
gonna
So
fucking do it.
shout him out, and then I want
And
to shout him out.
so
Yeah,
I want to
because
provide
his
much more
team is how I met
customized,
Preeti
much more
Powell, who's
hands-on,
now
much more
the
support
advanced woman. Yeah,
for
it's
people
because
like
of them.
yourself. Because I
And
wish I
they
had
invited me to
this
speak in
when I was a
2023 at the
trader,
Navigator
and I was
conference.
so
And
blessed to
then
have
I
a
think I heard some
team
feelings
like
up
the
there
team
because
I
they didn't
had.
invite me
But I
anymore.
realized now that it wasn't enough.
No,
You know what I mean?
Rob,
You
Melissa, if you
need
hear this, it's
to
I'm just
extend your
it's all in
network. You
jokes. And the
need to
reason why I
keep
say that's
learning in this
because
industry.
I
If you want
literally
to
told
become one
showed
of the
them how
great
we
ones at
optimize in
least, and
Excel and
if you
how
look
we
or sound like
exclude
myself, who can
include website.
identify with
And
me
some
and
of those
who I
people
am,
saw their website
you
on that
need to be
spreadsheet demo that
great
I was, and they were
because
like,
we are
"No,
not
don't cut that
allowed
up."
to
But
truly
anyway,
just be
but at
average.
the
We
Navigator
cannot
conference as
afford to
well,
be
y'all,
average
like
in
it
this
was the
industry
same
and
feel as
in
Ad
this world.
Monster. It was like
So we always
literally
have
it
to
was
do more than
like
what we're
you could
supposed to, and
hear
maybe it's not
publishers, but
fair.
like, oh, I'm
And I
ad ops,
realize
I
that,
work
and
in
I
this tool.
embrace
Oh,
it,
but I'm an accounts executive, I
and
work
I
in this.
value that.
And again, all
But
roles
I'm here
are
to tell you that
extremely
I can
important
help you with this membership.
for the success
It's
of any
going to
type of
be
company.
every
We are
month.
just
We're going
asking
to
to
have a
give
power
some more
hour,
light
programmatic
and
power hour,
support
which
to
is
the
going
team
to
that
be
may not
focusing
bring
on a particular
revenue,
topic.
new
If you've
business,
joined
but they
the
keep
workshops
we're
nurture
that
keeping the
I've
them.
offered
business
in the
in the
last
house, though.
3
Okay,
months,
we keep
it's
it
going
in
to
house. Okay,
look,
Ali, so share
feel
one
a
last
little bit
takeaway.
that way.
One last takeaway. Okay,
And,
so I
and
do
some
think
industry review. The
capping
second thing
off
is
the day
optimization
with
bootcamp. You've
Brian
asked me to do
O'Kelly, our
optimization
yeah.
in the Excel
godfather of
worksheet, and some of
Adtech,
them are
was
going to show you how to
appropriate
use
and
AI like
exciting.
ChatGPT
So
to help
I
you
feel like
be more
in
efficient. The third
I
thing
feel
is
like
the
what
town
scope
hall, which
3
is we both
Brian and the
join
team
on
are
the call.
doing, it's like
Nobody
it's bringing
talks.
life
We are
back
just
into an
quiet, and we
industry
do that one
that
thing we're supposed to
got
do.
kind of
Okay, so the town
boring for a
hall
bit.
is meant to be
And
a
so there's a few things that
workspace,
they're
virtual
doing.
workspace,
So
and
first of
then
all,
I
the
will be
podcast I thought
on
was
just in case we need to go in
super
a
fun. It
breakout
was
room
interesting.
and address
engaging.
your
So
needs.
props,
Yes.
Okay,
guys, for
so
just
join us
having
in the
that
membership.
conversation.
It will be kicking
And
off
things
in
that are standing
April,
out to me about
and
scope
I
3
will
that like
allow
really
you to
give me
decide on the
energy
schedule
in the
for each
morning
of
to
those
like
3 things
keep
I
doing
just
this
talked
job.
about, and we're
Is
gonna go at it.
I love
But
how
I
they
believe in
have
you. I'm
pivoted and
grateful for you,
incorporated
and most
the brand
importantly, I
safety
know you can
piece
do it. Like
into
nobody else is
sustainability
doing what you're
and
doing. You
waste
showed
and
up
fraud.
to those
But
workshops.
how do you,
So thank you again
tackle brand
for
safety,
everything you're
which
doing. Thank you for being
no
you
one
and
has
for
really
leveling
done
up,
since
leveling
the
up. And you better
original
sign up.
ones
I expect you to
have.
see you
And
there.
we all know the original
Original.
ones who are doing this continue to have a stronghold on our entire industry. And so I think this piece of the industry, it's not always the sexiest part, but it's one of the most needed parts. and it really hasn't had innovation in a long time. Like we're still blocking keywords based on just single words
Keywords.
URL.
Without sentiment analysis, which doesn't work.
Based on somebody's identity and race.
Okay, so I feel like if anyone can solve the problem, I think BOK and Scope 3 have the best. Wait, do they call him Bach or BOK? Is it Bach?
Bach.
He's kind of known. It's his initials, Brian O'Kelly.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, let's start over. So I think if anybody can tackle this challenge, I think Scope 3 is set to do it. And what I want to see from any future version of brand safety and verification is that we stop holding premium reputable publishers hostage, that we get them the information they need to make these filters fair and equitable and correct, and that we're not blocking sites like cookie recipes to die for and house plants that are impossible to kill.
Or brownies.
Yeah.
Brownies recipe.
Yeah. Let's just cut that shit out and let's do it better. And let's stop spending so much time digging through thousands of rows of spreadsheets that take us a month to even get our hands on. So that's I was very excited about that. It's giving me energy and life.
Yeah.
I'm super, again, someone who's helped, I've been a ground floor building. I was on ground floor building one of the first DSPs specifically for the pharma vertical. And to hear about this new Agnetic, Agentic, I'm not even sure how to pronounce that word, but anyway, media platform, I had to honestly look up what that even meant. But my brain is cooking here in terms of maybe that is going to be the future trading platform. It makes a lot of sense. Obviously, we know there's a lot of, this industry, it's hitting maturity. We're 15 plus years in. Obviously, that comes along with lots of mergers and acquisitions. But also, some of these tools we've been using. I mean, I come back from the DFP days, that's gone through 15 name changes with Google. I think, but maybe they change it again. They change it every 3 to 5 years just to keep us on our toes. But, and then as Allie's mentioning, the verification tools where they're not innovating at the speed needed to keep up with all these advancements. So I'm really curious, how that's going to look, how the UX is going to be. I think there's been a lot of, discussion in the industry about what UX works for media traders. We won't call out certain names, but I think we all know one recent one is not intuitive. How are we going to make this a tool, for the ops pros, for the ad traffickers, for the media traders, where are they getting those, the hands on deck people's opinion on these platforms and building them? Or is it, coming from the marketing team or salesperson or CEO that's never led it over Adtech in their entire life? How are they building these things?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's something that just the nerd in me is curious about. And I'm actually, again, excited. It gives me excitement, to kind of okay, we are in wave 3 of this industry. It's happening in real time.
Yeah, I like what you said. And, shout out to Brian O'Kelly because he was a guest on the podcast maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years, I don't know. And I told him, Brian, a lot of people have questions for you. It would be lovely if you come within our community. And just so if you have not heard, we have a Slack channel on the trader side, and we had a community that was on and popping. Okay, guys, if you were in a community, there is another executive membership that I just launched. Stay tuned for that.
One of the reasons why we are launching this membership is because it's been on my heart after having my son in 2023. It was rough for many reasons, and the light was and the warmth came from my husband being the biggest supporters, my daughter, and then my son. And then this year I realized I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to do it. And so I want to provide much more customized, much more hands-on, much more support for people like yourself, because I wish I had this when I was a trader. And I was so blessed to have a team like the team I had, but I realize now that it wasn't enough. You know what I mean? You need to extend your network. You need to keep learning in this industry if you want to become one of the great ones, at least. And if you look or sound like myself, who can identify with me and who I am, you need to be great, because we are not allowed to truly just be average. We cannot afford to be average in this industry and maybe in this world. So we always have to do more than what we're supposed to, and maybe it's not fair. And I realize that, and I embrace it, and I value that. But I'm here to tell you that I can help you with this membership. It's going to be every month. We're going to have a power hour, a programmatic power hour, which is going to be focusing on a particular topic. If you've joined the workshops that I've offered in the last 3 months, it's going to feel a little bit that way. And some industry review. The second thing is optimization bootcamp. You've asked me to do optimization in the Excel worksheet, and some of them are going to show you how to use AI like ChatGPT to help you be more efficient. The third thing is the town hall, which is we both join on the call. Nobody talks. We are just quiet, and we do that one thing we're supposed to do. Okay, so the town hall is meant to be a workspace, a virtual workspace, and then I will be on just in case we need to go in a breakout room and address your need. Okay, so join us in the membership. It will be kicking off in April, and I will allow you to decide on the schedule for each of those 3 things I just talked about, and we're going to go at it. But I believe in you. I'm grateful for you. And most importantly, I know you can do it. Like nobody else is doing what you're doing. You showed up to those workshops. So thank you again for everything you're doing. Thank you for being you and for leveling up. And you better sign up. I expect you to see you there.
So, long story short, Brian O'Kelly came on the podcast, and it was during the community. I think it was like 30 people. And I think Manuela Cortez and Carlos Villanueva were the hosts. I allowed them, members, to host this one podcast. And it was phenomenal. So if you want to hear about how Scope 3 started and why, check out the episode. I also want to give a special shout out before we wrap things up to Albert Thompson, who came on the podcast not too long ago to discuss AI creative and like what the heck is going on in the Adtech world, like in our programmatic world. And the last shout out I want to give is to Aisha White. She came on the podcast, and I'll put all the episode in the show notes. But she came on the podcast to talk about exactly what Shannon and Allie refer to when it comes to brand safety and excluding down to that keyword. Her podcast was specifically about that. So I'll make sure to share it for you for additional resources. But before we close this part of the part 1 of the podcast, Shannon, give me like maybe answer yes or no. Is Marketecture Live 2 something you would definitely attend? Yes or no, and why? And then
Oh,
Allie.
I mean, yes. Why? Because we
Yeah.
all need to keep up on this industry. I mean, it's
Okay.
moving at lightning speed right now. The
Mhm.
way to keep, abreast of it. What I've always loved about this industry is it keeps you on your toes. You got to stay, curious. You got to stay knowledgeable. You got to
Mhm.
love education. You got to love learning.
Mhm.
That's the fun part of it, but it's also the real challenging part of it, because it's evolving in real time.
Mhm. Love it.
Yeah.
What about you, Allie?
Yes. Great content, great community that has been built around the Marketecture brand and Adtech brand. So I
Yeah.
want to see that continue to grow and thrive. And this was
Same.
their first one. They did an
Mhm.
incredible job. I want to see how it grows and evolves and how they take the feedback. I have full confidence they can take that feedback and make it even.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I agree with you. I'll definitely accept. Thank you for both being here and sharing about it. I saw y'all taking notes in your notes, and I'm usually that person, but I was walking around doing everything because I got really excited. So I appreciate you guys sharing more of your content and being here today. But we will catch these ladies in part 2.